Much of Hitler's life and death remains the subject of debate. However, there are things we can take for granted, for example, his marriage to Eva Braun during the final days of World War II in Europe. There he married the woman who was faithful to him for so many years. The German leader never had children, at least that is what most historians say. But in the years after the war many supposed sons of Hitler appeared. The most popular, a Frenchman named Jean-Marie Loret, who claimed to be the son of an affair between his mother and the then Corporal Hitler during the Great War. This story is of course rejected by various historians and biographers of the German leader such as Ian Kershaw and Timothy Ryback. In my personal opinion, I don't believe in Loret's story either. Hitler had no children. However, he had a couple of nephews. One of them whom he came to consider his favorite nephew, Heinrich Hitler. Heinrich or Heinz served in the Wehrmacht. He was decorated with the Iron Cross. However, the surname that in his civilian life opened so many doors for him would become his death sentence when the cannons of the Eastern Front began to rumble. Heinz was born on August 14, 1920 in Vienna. He was the son of Alois Hitler Jr. and Hedwig Heidemann. From a young age, Heinz was a very spoiled child and received a visit somewhat often from his uncle Adolf, who at that time was beginning to make a name on the political scene of post-war Germany. With Heinz he entered adolescence and with the rise of the National Socialist Party to power, millions of German children joined the Hitlerjugends. Of course Hitler's nephew would not be exempt from this. Here he learned the basic ideals of National Socialism and all the Fuhrer's slogans. Heinz was fascinated by what this meant for Germany and vowed to dedicate his life to his uncle's cause. Already at approximately 15 to 16 years old, Heinz was arrived by order of his uncle to elite school of Nazis' party, the elite training schools for Germany's future leaders. In these high-demand and high-performance centers, young people would learn basic notions in military matters, but they would also receive political and ideological instruction. The demands to enter the elite school were too high. Only children and adolescents considered racially impeccable were accepted in these places. Applicants had to surpass and demonstrate physical and mental performance beyond the average. Of course Heinz managed to overcome all these requirements, which were really just a formality for someone who bore the surname and shared blood ties with the Fuhrer of Germany. According to some of Heinz's friends from that time, the boy was a little arrogant. Relying on his uncle's surname, he used to evade some punishments, such as when Heinz, together with 3 other guys, illegally drove a car in Magdeburg. A police officer stopped him, but when he checked his documents he just said hello and let him go. Even so, the boy could well have avoided military service for the moment by studying a university career. But his dream was to become an army officer and support his country's war effort. The beginning of World War II caught him at approximately 19 years old. Heinz did not fight in the initial combats in Poland and France as he was taking a course at the Wehrmacht non-commissioned officer school. However, he completed his training successfully in the first months of 1941 and was assigned to the 23rd Artillery Regiment. A few months later, in June, Heinz crossed the Soviet border with the rest of the Wehrmacht, beginning Operation Barbarossa. As part of the Center Army Group, Heinz's objective was to reach the city of Moscow with his division, Soviet capital, and which in the view of the majority of German soldiers would mark the end of the Russian campaign. The Wehrmacht reached the outskirts of Moscow and even some advanced units saw the spears of the Kremlin shining in the distance. But the Red Army's massive winter counteroffensive forced them to retreat almost 200 kilometers. For the Germans, that winter of 1941 was one of many hardships with temperatures below 20 degrees below zero. Even so, little by little and with continuous counterattacks, the Germans began to stabilize the front. It is January 10, 1942 when Heinz, together with a small group of men, had the mission of recovering some valuable radio equipment that had been abandoned during the retreat. The Red Army ambushed the Germans and captured Heinz. When the Soviets discovered who they had captured, they were astonished. The prisoner was arrived to the infamous Butyrka prison for political and military prisoners. In this place he would be tortured by the NKVD. Some versions claim that Hitler discovered of the fate of his favorite nephew and tried to negotiate a prisoner exchange with Stalin through the Red Cross. The German leader would hand over Yakov, Stalin's son, who had been captured in July 1941 while commanding an artillery company. The condition was that Heinz would be returned to Germany safely. This is just a theory, and it sounds more reasonable to me than the classic Hitler wanted to exchange Stalin's son for Field Marshal Paulus. It is said that Stalin rejected the offer. The fate that followed for Heinz would be terrible. He was tortured physically and mentally to obtain information about his uncle and his conquest planned. But keep in mind that no matter how familiar Heinz may have been, he was a sergeant. He had no information about Hitler's great military plans. About the personal life of the German leader, Heinz never revealed anything. Finally, the Fuhrer's favorite nephew could not stand the brutality of the treatment in Butyrka and died in February 1942 at the young age of 21. Before his capture, he had been decorated with the Iron Cross. Heinz's remains were never found, and where he was buried was never revealed. Thanks for watching the video. If you are interested in World War II content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I upload new videos every week.